Hey, if you're turning 65 soon, on today's episode of Retirement Real Talk, we are going to be discussing what you need to know and the steps you need to take so that when you do turn 65, you are prepared and ready to go when it comes to Medicare.
Welcome to Retirement Real Talk, where we cut through the advertisements, sales pitches, and all the confusion surrounding Medicare, Social Security, and retirement finances. Introducing the Internet's leading Medicare educator and co-founder of MedicareSchool.com, Marvin Music, and his son, certified financial planner and the co-founder of MedicareSchool.com, Joshua Music. It's time for some Retirement Real Talk.
Okay, we've got a lot to cover in today's episode. So the first thing we want to talk about as we're talking to all these people who are turning 65 soon, teaching them everything they need to know about enrolling in Medicare, is there are some groups who should go in Medicare, there's some groups who shouldn't go in Medicare, and there are some who must. So let's talk about that first.
So first off, there are 5 groups of people that have to go on Medicare at 65, and that would be those that are covered by their or their spouse's retiree plan, anyone who's covered by COBRA insurance, anyone that's on an Affordable Care Act plan, meaning you've got an individual plan through the healthcare exchange, anyone that is on TRICARE insurance, meaning you're retired from the military, or those of you that are still working and are covered by your plan, or maybe your spouse is still working, and you're covered by a plan that has 19 employees with the company or less. You have to go on Medicare at 65. And so they must. Now, there are some people who may want to go on Medicare at 65, and that's those of you that are still working, and you're in a plan that's considered to be large group, which means there's 20 employees or more in the plan. You're not required to go on Medicare, but you may want to, which simply means that the group plan may be not a good option. And so we encourage people to make a comparison between premium and deductibles and max out-of-pockets, and to see if Medicare makes financial sense versus staying on the group plan.
So I think this highlights one of the big myths that we're always trying to dispel, and that is if you're turning 65, you don't have to go on Medicare. You don't have to. You're not going to get penalized if you don't go on Medicare, as long as you have other health insurance that's based upon active employment, and there's 20 or more people that work at the employer.
That's exactly
so
right.
If you're in that situation, you don't have to go on Medicare. Don't believe what all your friends are saying that you got to sign up, because it's not true.
Right. Yeah, those people that are in large group, 20 or more, they could make a decision to enroll in Medicare A only. Now, if they do that, it's fine, but you have to make sure that if that's you, that you stop contributing to your HSA. Because anytime you start Medicare, no new money can go into your HSA. I'm of the opinion that I'd rather just do nothing with Medicare, A or B, if I'm in a group of 20 or more, and just keep contributing to my HSA. But if you don't have one of those, it's certainly fine to enroll in Medicare A.
Okay, so the last group is those who shouldn't go on Medicare at 65.
Yeah, that would be anyone, again, that has a group of 20 or more employees that are, in the company. They shouldn't go on if their group plan is better than their Medicare option. Okay. So as they look at the financial aspects of their plan, again, the premium and the deductible, max out of pocket, and all that, then they, if the group plan's better, stay on it. It's fine to do so. You can come into Medicare at a later date using what we call the special enrollment period. Also, if you have others in your family that are covered by that group plan, meaning your spouse is covered and your spouse is not yet Medicare eligible, if you drop your group plan, then your spouse is going to be affected by that. And if they don't have anywhere else to go to get good insurance, then you're not going to go on Medicare. You don't have to. Or if your children who are covered up to age 26 and eligible for insurance on your group plan, if they don't have somewhere to go to get insurance, then we would encourage people, stay on the group plan. We just don't want someone going on Medicare when they don't have to, and others are going to be adversely affected by that. But again, if I don't have a spouse that's covered, children up to 26, and it makes financial sense to go on Medicare, then you can certainly do that. And go on Medicare at 65. Hey, if you need help getting your Medicare all set up and making all those decisions to make sure that you have the right coverage, we would love to help you. In the pinned comment section below, you can see a link there, and you can actually set up an appointment to meet with one of our Medicare guides. It's a virtual appointment, and they will help you from A to Z, do everything that you need to do, from enrolling into Medicare to selecting the right Medicare plan, so that you'll have confidence that you have the right coverage for your situation.
Okay, so let's talk about, we're going to assume for most of the rest of this conversation that you've decided it's in my my best interest to go on Medicare at 65. So there's a couple of different enrollment options. So the first one we want to talk about is auto enrollment. And this is talking about getting your red, white, and blue Medicare A and B card. So if you are on Social Security, meaning you are receiving a Social Security check, you're getting that check and it hits your bank account every month, you are going to be automatically enrolled into Medicare A and B. You don't have to do anything at all. In fact, that Medicare, red, white, and blue Medicare card is going to show up about 100 days in advance of the month you turn 65.
Right.
So that's very easy. Now, for those of you who are not receiving a Social Security check, you are actually going to have to self-enroll. So what's that process?
Yeah. Well, to self-enroll, you need to start by going online and setting up what is called a myssa.gov account. And the benefit of that is you can check your Social Security statements. In the future, you can check Medicare, EOB. So there's a lot of benefit to having a myssa.gov account. And so once we have that account set up, and it's going to take you about 10 minutes to do it, not very long, then you can enroll into Medicare online. And it would be an A and B application only, unless you want to start Social Security at the same time. Then that can be a combined application. And so anyone that's not on Social Security is going to have to raise their hand basically and say, hey, I want to start Medicare.
Yeah, because they're assuming you're still working if you're not receiving your Social Security check.
Exactly right. So you make that enrollment decision. But I think one of the key things that we want to make sure our audience knows of is that if you are going to start at 65, you do have a small window of just 7 months. And those 7 months are tied to your birth month. It's 3 months before you turn 65, the month you turn 65, and then 3 months after. And depending upon when you enroll during those 7 months will determine when they start your coverage. So it does matter, and you want to make sure that you do enroll at the right time to get that coverage started when you want to.
So if you enroll in advance of your 65th birth month, they will start your coverage the first day of the month that you turn 65.
Exactly right.
If you enroll the month of your 65th birthday or any month thereafter, and this is a rule change going into next year, then they'll start your coverage the following month.
The very next month.
Okay,
Exactly
so if you're enrolling in the rest of 2022, those rules are quite a bit different, and it'll definitely confuse you. But moving forward, Medicare has simplified that. The one thing to note is that if you turn 65 if your birthday is the first of any month, so January 1st, February 1st, whatever, they actually accelerate your timeline a full 30 days. So you would actually receive you would actually become Medicare eligible. Your Medicare benefits would start if you were born on July 1st. It would actually start June the 1st for you. So everything is accelerated a full month. So for those of you who are born on the 1st, everything's kind of a month earlier. Okay, so we've talked about the 7-month period. That's called the initial enrollment period, if we're going to use insurance jargon. Okay, so the second opportunity for people to enroll is using what's called the special enrollment period, and there's 2 documents that needs to be filled out. One's called the CMS L564. Your employer actually fills that out and verifies that you had coverage based upon active employment, either you or your spouse. Can both, it doesn't have to be your coverage, it can be your spouse. And they'll fill that out, you fill out CMS 40B, and then both of those documents go to the Social Security office, and that allows you to get enrolled into Medicare A and B without any gaps or without any penalties.
Exactly. I just want to clarify one thing. It is true that the employer fills out the L564, but I want to make sure you all that are listening to us know that you're going to have to initiate that. Your employer is not going to initiate the L564. You're going to have to do that. If you work with us, then we'll make that happen as well. But it's got to go to the HR department, who then in turn would get that back to you. And then along with that CMS 40B form, then we're going to get that to the local Social Security office.
Yeah. Absolutely. So that really covers the A and B enrollment in terms of getting that red, white, and blue Medicare card. We always tell people that once you kind of initiate the enrollment process, you can expect to receive your cards probably about 4 weeks later. So it takes about a month, and it comes in kind of a nondescript envelope. So just keep an eye out for that. But what you can do is you can log into your SSA.gov account, and usually after about 2 weeks or so, your Medicare number will show up. That being said, they have been very delayed, and we're hearing stories lately of people who are waiting, they're not getting their Medicare card for 60 days. And so what we usually tell people to do is squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? So call in frequently to your Social Security office and say, hey, I'm just checking on my application. I need to get this through because I need my Medicare card so that I can get my applications for prescription drug, everything else set up.
Yeah, I think it's wise to give them about a month, and that's it.
Yeah.
If you have not heard within a month, then it's time to be that squeaky wheel.
Okay, so getting your red, white, and blue Medicare card. Let's talk about the next thing. The next decision you're going to have to make is there's going to be two options for your insurance coverage. You're either going to get what is called a supplemental plan or a Medigap policy. Those are both mean the same thing. They're just different ways to put it. Or you're going to get what's called an Advantage plan. These are two very different systems of using your Medicare benefits, and we're not going to go into the depth of all of those in this video. But we do have on our channel a lot of videos that talk about the pros and the cons of Advantage plans versus supplement plans, how to know which one's right for you, what's the downside of both of these options, what's the upside, what do you need to be aware of. And that's really your biggest decision when it comes to your Medicare benefits.
Yeah, I just want to add this. Those two systems only have one thing in common, and that is you have to be enrolled in Medicare A and B, which means you're going to have to pay your B premium whether you get an Advantage plan or a supplemental plan. So that's the only thing they have in common, and the differences are very vast. So please take the time to compare those two insurance options because you're going to have to live with that decision.
And we'll put some links in the show notes or in the description so that you can go directly and watch some of our videos or listen to some of our content on on the differences between Advantage plans and supplemental plans, because it's very important.
I also think it's important for people to realize that when you choose one of those options, whether it's a supplemental plan or an Advantage plan, part of that decision is going to be how you want to use your drug plan, or what drug plan you're going to choose. Because if I have a supplemental plan, I get to use a separate drug plan. It's a standalone drug plan. There's lots of choices. If I have an Advantage plan, that company is going to include a prescription drug plan as part of the package. So they chose the drug plan for you. And so people have to realize that when they make that decision, their drug coverage is critical.
Hey, my name's Josh Music, and if you've been enjoying my dad Marvin Music's content, you really need to go to our website, MedicareSchool.com. When you go there, you'll be given the opportunity to download a free 1-hour Medicare Essentials workshop, and it's going to take you all the way from Medicare A to Z. By the time you're done watching that workshop, you're going to know how to enroll in Medicare, when to enroll in Medicare. You're going to know the differences between Advantage plans, supplemental plans. You're going to know how to get drug coverage. You're going to know everything you need to know to get the best coverage possible. So go ahead, go to MedicareSchool.com and watch the Medicare Essentials workshop.
Okay, so we've talked about getting enrolled in Medicare A and B. We've talked about you're going to have to make a decision and get educated about supplement plan versus Advantage plan. You're going to have to get drug coverage in place. If you're on a supplement plan, you got to get a standalone drug plan. If you're on an Advantage plan, usually that drug coverage will kind of be embedded in there. But the last piece really for somebody who's just now, turning 65, it's time to get enrolled, is choosing someone, finding someone they can trust that walks them through the process. So what are I know there's a couple options for that. So walk people through that, please.
Right. Well, people can either use what we would call a call center or a captive type of an agent, or an independent broker. We've chosen to be independent brokers. And so that is the only two options they have. If they go through a captive call center, that means that company represents usually just one insurance carrier.
So you're going to be calling United Healthcare directly, Blue Cross and Blue Shield, Aetna, whatever it is. And I think what I always think is like, so if I'm going to call that company, what do you think they're going to say? Oh, our plans are terrible. You definitely shouldn't enroll in that. No, you're going to sit through a sales pitch on why their plans are the best, and then you're going to call the next company, and they're going to do the same thing, and then you're going to call the next company, and they're going to do the same thing, and you're going to have to kind of filter through this all and try to make sense of all of it. And that seems to me an exhausting way to have to choose your insurance.
Yeah, it's information overload. Yeah, for sure. And you don't know the quality of even the person that you're talking to. They could be a rookie. They could be very experienced. And so you run the risk of talking with someone that really is not going to be able to give you really adequate advice. So I think there's some very good people that are in call centers, but there's also some that really don't even understand the business yet.
Yeah.
So that's what's going to happen. When it comes to brokers like us and others around the country, when they're independent, we're that way on purpose. We're independent because we know one size does does not fit all. And we want to make sure that our clients have an understanding of everything that's available, all the supplemental companies and all the advantage companies, and be able to lay those options side by side and make a good comparison so you're making a very good educated decision so you're comfortable with the coverage. And then also information like who's the most stable rated company. And so those kinds of things matter. And so a broker is typically going to share that information with you because you don't want to make a decision just based upon perks. You don't want to make a decision just based upon initial premium. We want to look at how the insurance is going to work. We want to make sure we're with a company that's proven to be very rate stable because everything goes up in price. Right. But some companies raise their premiums more frequently, more drastically than others. And so I think it's a big decision to make. And typically, our broker is going to give you the proper information to make that good decision.
Are there any cost differences in terms of what people are going to have to pay out of their pocket if they go either of these two routes?
Certainly not, because no agent sets the insurance premiums. It is the company that does that, and so there's not 2 or 3 different prices out there. If someone goes with United Healthcare, they go with Aetna or Humana or Mutual of Omaha, whoever they go with, that price is going to be the same regardless of what agent helps them because those companies set the price. Yeah. And then secondly, those insurance companies pay us, the broker or the agent. The consumer does not and really cannot pay the insurance agent. That commission has to be paid by the broker. So there's no additional cost by using a broker versus a call center.
Yeah. So if someone's looking for a broker, what should they be looking for?
Well, first off, someone that's experienced, and I think someone that has written lots of business, that knows that market well, and also someone that will take the time and be patient with them instead of trying to push a product. I look at some of the reviews that come into our company, and one of the common denominators for us is that our Medicare guides, our agents, are very patient and they're very thorough. And there's no pressure, and so that's the experience that I think people need, and others will do that beyond us, but some are very pushy. They're trying to get off a phone call within 20 or 30 minutes, they can get a bonus.
Yeah, I was at a conference the other day, and they were talking about how do we expedite the consumer's call, so we can shave off 10 seconds here, 15 seconds here, 20 seconds here. And the effort to basically say, hey, that seat is worth X amount of dollars to us, so let's try to get the people that are calling in to us to get them to make their insurance decisions very quickly. And we just feel like that's disrespectful. So if you're being hurried or pushed, or if somebody's pushing one type of plan only, hey, you've got to get this, everything else is bad, it's usually a red flag.
Yeah, and you got to make the decision today. Those kinds of sales approaches, it's all about the agent, it's all about the company, instead of about the person that's making this very important insurance decision.
So if you're turning 65, what do you need to know? Well, obviously you got to get enrolled in Medicare A and B. That's your first step. The second step is going to be getting educated on the differences between Advantage plans and supplemental plans, and really, honed into what is right for you amongst those two systems. If you don't know where to go to our YouTube channel. We have tons and tons and tons of videos on these two different options. And the last piece, decision point for you, is really finding someone to work with. You can't just, instantly create insurance out of thin air. You've got to find somebody to help you enroll, to compare those options, and to really be honest, and somebody that you can trust that will serve you over the long term. So if you don't have someone to work with, we'd be happy to do that.
Just want to add this. I think it's important for people to know that a lot of things that you do it yourself, you save money.
Yeah.
But you're not going to in this situation. If you try to do it yourself, it could cost you a lot because you could make a very serious mistake. So using someone that knows what they're doing will cost you nothing at all and could save you a tremendous amount of frustration as well as money.
Thanks for joining us today on this episode. We look forward to seeing you next week.